Hello again, Floyd here. I'm going to do moderate a audio message I did on the Fifth Commandment back in July 17th of 2014, 11 years ago. So, listen, I'm always forgetting to say like, subscribe, and share, and all that kind of thing, and comments. I'm more interested in the negative comments. It's all about clarity. Okay, so if you've got a question or something, or you disagree, bring it up. Let's bring some clarity to your understanding. And so let's see what I had to say about the Fifth Commandment 11 years ago.
Well, hello again. We're going to cover the Fifth Commandment today, and it's found in Deuteronomy 5, chapter 16, or chapter 5, verse 16. It says, "Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." Okay, so honor thy mother and thy father, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So honoring thy mother and thy father. Now, parents have a responsibility when they have children. And this is everybody who has ever been involved in a conception. This goes with deadbeat dads, deadbeat moms, married, divorced, you name it. Anybody who brings children into this world has a responsibility to God to bring them up in the knowledge of Him.
That's not me saying that. That's what the book says. Bring your children up in the knowledge of God so that they have it for later. That last part's paraphrasing, but that's what he means. So when they grow up, they have that seed in them.
If you don't bring your children up in the knowledge of God, then you are breaking your responsibility to God, whether you know it or not. Whether you agree with it or not has nothing to do with it. You as a parent, and a parent is one of the two people who have conceived a child. Your responsibility is to bring that child up in the knowledge of God.
See, as a parent, that's not your child. That's God's child. You are the guardian of that child, and you're supposed to bring that child up in the knowledge of its father, who is God. That's your responsibility. He'll take it from there. But that's not your child. You are the guardian, because when that child grows up and becomes an adult, it's not your child anymore, is it? It's an adult who has its own children. So remember, you're the guardian of God's child. Your responsibility is to bring that child up in the knowledge of Him.
So that when they get older, they have that to fall back on. This is what the Bible talks about.
Yeah.
Now, honoring thy mother and thy father, you need to be parents that deserve that honor. If you're a parent who is not bringing your children up in the knowledge of God, then the chances are you don't know God yourself.
Which means, parents, in order to bring those children up in the knowledge of God, you must know the Ten Commandments in order to know what you're bringing them up on.
And if you're not doing things that are honorable with your children, then how can you possibly expect to be honored by your children? Now, the commandment states that honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be prolonged, which means that you'll have long days, okay? And that you'll have good days, wherever you are, okay? But that honor is something that has to be earned. You have to be an honorable parent in order for your children to learn honor and give that back to you. Otherwise, you're setting your children up for a disaster, which now their blood could be on your hands if they don't change when they become adults and come close to God and learn His ways and change their ways based on what how you brought them up.
Yeah. Like if you don't teach them not to have any other God before Him, what's the second one? If you don't teach them not to commit idolatry by idols, Let's see. What's the third one? Let's see. The third one is taking his name in vain. Okay, so they understand that they don't misrepresent him, and then they understand that they to take that day of rest, the Sabbath, and what it means. These are the things you're supposed to know to bring your child up in the knowledge of those things. And if you don't have them, what principles are you bringing your children up on?
Because they're supposed to honor you.
Yeah.
Okay? So children who don't honor their parents, I'm getting a picture of, an orphan, doesn't even know his parents. How is he supposed to honor them? How is he supposed to feel any honor towards somebody who's abandoned him? How is he to learn that? And then when he has children, when he gets older, how is he supposed to teach that to his children when he's never had it?
See, I had a message on orphans. When it comes right down to it, there is no such as an orphan because we all have a father, and that's God the Father, spiritually. But if there's orphans in the physical that don't have their physical parents there, I mean, if they don't have the spiritual father, they certainly are definitely orphans, but children, they never are. We always have a father there. We have never been left orphans, only if we decide to be.
See, those parents that created that orphan, now sometimes there's accidents and stuff that happen, okay, that's different. Those children can be taken in by family. At the same thing, if you're taking the responsibility of a child, you become that child's father, whether it's stepfather or whatever. You have a responsibility to bring that child up who's in your care
Right.
in the knowledge of God.
Yeah.
Okay? So if the child is not being taught honor, then how can they give honor? You see, it goes to you get what you give. Okay? You give what you want to get, and you get what you give. So if you're not bringing that child up in the knowledge of God in order to create that honor, then you are affecting that child's relationship with God.
I think if you really take to heart what I said about that not being your child, that you're only the guardian, that could straighten a person out quite quickly, realizing who you're going to answer for how you raise that child. That's a pretty serious message.
That's pretty serious. That's pretty serious. Because until they become of mature age, their blood will be on your hands.
That's right.
Because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
It's the same with God. We honor God. God deserves honor because of who God is and what he does. But God says something, he keeps his promise.
Yep.
Based on our agreement with him. He wouldn't be a very honorable God if he didn't keep his promises, would he?
No. What about you? You making your children promises and then breaking your word? That's your integrity. What I did growing up with my children, if I thought that there might be something that could prevent me from coming through with what I was going to promise, I would say maybe. And they used to say, oh yeah, Dad, maybe, that means no. And I say, no, that means maybe. If I can, we will. But I'm not going to promise you something if I think that I have to break that promise. And that's what I tried to teach my girls. Your word is your integrity, and that is something you have control over, nobody else. You break your word, you break your integrity. Nobody can break your word. Only you can.
But you see, he is the example of honor. If the parents are following him, they will be parents that deserve the honor of their children.
That's right.
And their children will grow up to be parents that deserve the honor of their children. And on it goes. That's the best case scenario.
Yep.
But look at the orphan, look at the single parents, look at the divorced families. Those children, not all of them, I'm sure some of them are, parents split up, they still get along,
Yep.
Kids have a good relationship, whatever.
Yep.
But the point is are those children being taught honor?
Bring up something I was involved in years ago. I had an organization called WHOS, and it stood for We Have Obligation Society, and it was to do with young people. And it was, I would mediate between separating divorced parents and help them come to an agreement before they entered court. I was actually the first one to run one through in Nova Scotia. I ran it through the courts in Truro, and it was the very first one, I believe, in Canada that went through. And now mediation is part of the process. But besides that, I would talk to the parents and I would say, I said, your issue is between you and your spouse. And I said, I do what's in the best interest of the children. And I said, if you lie to that child, if you have custody of that child and you lie to that child about that your spouse, that child will grow up someday and learn the truth, and you will have just ruined any relationship you built with them, because your battle between you and your spouse has nothing to do with the children. And I said, and I would explain that to them, and they'd say, I never thought of it that way. And I say, no, because you're thinking of yourself. The battle between you and your spouse and your children are being used as pawns. And I've seen it for years. The children, and still today, the children are used as power over the other spouse. And that is damaging those children. And God the Father is watching you, guardian over his children, what you're doing for your selfish reasons. Your separation has nothing to do with the kids. You should both be doing best interests of those children if you can't get along between you. But the world has done that to the family. That was Satan's tool, was to break up the family. And this is 11 years ago, and look where we are today in 2025. Look at the children today, how they've been indoctrinated. Because the parents did not know enough of the truth in order to bring it on to their children, to bring them up in the right way.
How to honor their parents, and also how to honor God. Honor thy mother and thy father, that your days will be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. You have to be honorable parents in order to duplicate that honor in your children. You may not have heard this before, but that's the responsibility of every parent.
Yep.
Is to make sure that child is cared for in an honorable way, where it brings respect back to the parents by the children. They honor their parents.
See, the principles of the book I brought up, we were taught manners. Okay? I teach young people, I said, there are two words in the English language that are the most powerful words that can open and close doors like no other words in the English language. And I was brought up on morals and manners, and they say, well, what are those? And I said, the two words that will open or close any door in your life that no other words will have the same effect, and those two words are please and thank you. And those words you hardly hear. I use them all the time, always had in my life. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you and please will open doors for you that you have no idea, and they'll also close doors that you want closed. Two words, please and thank you.
They respect them. They don't
Hi, Blue.
tear them apart, tear them down, fight with them all the time. No, because they're brought up in the love of God. You see, that's why it's important for children to be brought up in the knowledge of God, because he's the one who will teach them the true love. He will teach them the things they need to grow up under in order to become the people that God wants them to be. But if you...
Some parents act like they were never children. It's funny, Children will do what they did when they were young, and then the parents will act like they never did that when they were kids. I know one of the things that I did when I learned up and I became a parent, I realized that just how much I didn't get away with that I thought I did. And my parents never even said anything, just like I did. And I see my kids doing stuff, and I go, geez, you see yourself in them, right? Innocent things. Serious things you got to talk about, but kids are going to be kids, and to condemn them for something that you did yourself as a child, things that children do, you guide them in things, but Man, you're a hypocrite when you condemn them for things that children do. That's where the guidance comes in.
You as a parent are not exposing them to God, even if you're not exposing them yourself.
Yeah.
If you choose not to expose yourself to God, don't take that from your kids.
Suffer the little ones
Or
to
you
come
could be
unto
doing a
me.
double whammy.
Yeah.
Because you'll be consciously deliberating, keeping them from the knowledge of God. I don't think that you're really going to want the repercussions of that.
Nope.
So even if you're not a believer and a follower of God, don't keep your kids from it. Because I guarantee you they'll grow up to be better children.
Yeah.
If you expose them to God than if you keep them from Him.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that. That's no joke. So honor God and honor your mother and your father, because they're the ones that are raising you. Children, if you got good parents that are taking care of you and there's outside influences trying to tear you down because some of your friends don't have the same parents you do have, don't let that affect the relationship between your parents. Just try and share some of that love with them so that if they're not feeling it at home, at least they'll feel it somewhere. Okay? But honor your mother and your father. They have faults too, you know. They're not perfect people. Hopefully they're in the will of God. Even then they're going to stumble. But you need to honor your mother and your father. The ones that deserve that show love towards you. Because that's how God set it up to work properly. Now we're going to cover...
So that's the 5th commandment. Honor thy mother and thy father, that your days be long. So it takes a two-way street. Today, man, I tell you, I would not want to be raising children today. I'm glad I'm around for my grandchildren, but it's rough today. You're fighting an indoctrinated system that's trying to teach the children things that are just so far away from the natural way of things and what the book says. But that is the battle we're into. You see, God's all about family, and that's why Satan attacked the family. Okay? Break up the family, break up that union, that's what God represents. And then from there, everything else happens. And now we have an unruly society because the children have been indoctrinated. There's no respect for parents. They get away with whatever they want to get away with. You know, society has put it where the children have more power than their parents do. And if you try and direct your kids in certain ways, certain things, they'll take your kids from you. Now that's insane. And on any level, that the government thinks that they have the right to take your children away because you're trying to teach them the ways of the book. But that's the day we live in, and the struggle that we have to face. And you're not going to be able to face these struggles. We're in 2025 right now. Right now, as we're meeting, Trump is on his way over for this peace treaty between the Middle East and Gaza. And I'll tell you right now that that's temporary. Because the book says they'll all come around Israel. They're going to double cross them. So if you think peace is coming, there's only one way peace is coming to this earth, and that's when God sends Jesus back here to straighten this mess out. And that's going to be soon. In the meantime, follow his ways. Learn his ways. It's going to be your only defense in the days coming ahead. With that, God bless. I hope you and your family are on the wings of his protection and provision every day. And like I say, do something for somebody else today and put some joy in your own heart by putting some joy in theirs. And like, share, and subscribe. Please help me get this out there. It's nothing to do with me. We're just trying to get these messages out before they take all this kind of stuff down. And with that, God bless. And I'll see you in the 6th.